Okay guys, welcome back to another Stardrift Evolution video. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how to get faster in this game. Because that's pretty much what this game is about, is just being as fast as you can. My pedigree, my experience for this is I am number one on the leaderboards at the moment. That could change on any given day, but for now, at the time of this video, I am number one on the leaderboard, so I think that I am slightly qualified to give you my tips, at least. They could be wrong tips. I could just be getting there from brute force, but this is my experience. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is drifting. There are that's kind of the name of this game. It's in the name, actually, Star Drift. But there's three ways to start a drift, and depending upon what car you use, these ways could be easier or harder. I will start, let's see what a decent track to start on is. Oh yes, one more thing before we get started. I have, to aid in this video, I have a visual aid, and that is a controller. So you can see the buttons I push, which is really nice. I guess Farmland Circuit would be a decent one. I'm trying to give examples from like the beginner tracks, although we will go into the more experienced tracks for some examples. So the first one let's turn the replay off. The first one we would get is just steering into a drift. And I want to pick a car that has not a lot of grip. We'll go with the Thunderbolt. Okay, so the first one would be just after we cross this start line, would be just to steer into the turn. And as you can see, I am able to go through it. I have not touched the handbrake yet. And I can actually drive this semi-decently. I'm not trying to stay on the track. I'm just, doing this for an example. The second method is to use the handbrake, or use the handbrake and gas at the same time. So here's one without it. So you go and you just tap it. You don't need to hold it for very long. Just a little tap. Now, something that I did not know until after I completed all the stars in the game, is that you can actually use handbrake while you are holding gas. I didn't think that was possible, but well, that was a bad example, but you can do it. There is a little bit of information that you need to know from this, and that is, while you can use handbrake and gas at the same time, you shouldn't use it for too long. I haven't done a quantitative experiment with it, but if we just hold handbrake and we drift around the corner, we don't have as much of an exit speed as we would if we just tapped it and we just start the drift, and then we just use our counter steering to stay on the road, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. The third method is to use the brake and the handbrake, or just brake. So this would be like this. I've just gotten in the habit of holding brake first and then handbrake, and then letting go of the brake and then handbrake. So it's kind of like, if you look at the controller, it's like this. So like brake, handbrake, and then you let go of them in the order that you press them. So you hold brake, hold handbrake, let go of brake, let go of handbrake. I can't speak as fast as I'm doing it in the video, but that's what's happening. I like to use the brake and then the handbrake method. That is what I am most comfortable with. I am biased because I've used that pretty much my entire time playing Star Drift Evolution, but I think that it gives you a better chance of not hitting obstacles. It gives you a faster exit. It gives you better control of the car in the exit rather than just holding handbrake. But that could just be me. Take it however you will. Experiment. See which one you like the best. See which one gives you the fastest times, and go with that. The last part of drifting is counter steering. I did not know about counter steering for a long time. Now, counter steering, you've seen like drifting videos online. You get the cars, and naturally you turn the wheel opposite the way your car is turning. Hashtag Lightning McQueen. To go left, you need to turn right. But it's the same thing in this game. Like with hairpins, you come up on a hairpin, you kind of do that to keep control of your car, get a faster exit. But this is also at higher speeds with low traction cars, mainly with low traction cars. is the only time that you'll see this happening. If we watch, now this is number 2. His name is that Graham W thing. His older name used to be Roz Pierzukian or something like that. We call him Roz, or I call him Roz. He's number 3 on the leaderboards right now, and he's number 2 on this track. But he has made a mistake, and it's not a very noticeable mistake. Why can I not see you? Okay, we're back. I have no idea what happened. I guess I desynced with the game for a little bit, but we now got the replay back up. Okay, so if we watch this replay, it happens in this second turn. So not this first one where he's turning left. It happens in the turn where he's turning right. So, how do we... Okay, so when he turns left here, I mean, you can't really see anything wrong with that. But there is something wrong with it. Just a little bit. When, I need to go back a little bit. When he comes through this curve, you'll see his car is not exactly straight. It's just a tiny bit angled to the right once he completes this turn. And he's just powering through it, which is okay. What he should be doing is steering to the left just a little bit to straighten his car out, because if your car's straight, it's naturally going to go faster than if it's drifting slightly. So this is going to be the difference in maybe, like, if the finish line was at the end of this straight, it'd be the difference in, like, maybe a couple, I'd say maybe thousandths or maybe 100th of a second. It wouldn't be that much, but when you add it up over about 50 turns of this track, it makes a big difference. So I don't know if I can watch it in slow motion. Okay, so right here, he's angled a little bit to the right. He should be angled straight at that tree. Like the middle line of his polygons on his car should be aimed straight at that big tree on that hill back there. Now, I can't take the exact same line he's taking, so this won't be a good, perfect example. But I will show you what it looks like on the controller to do this counter steering. So you don't do it through the first curve. And you can actually take this first curve a little bit tighter than I'm taking it right there. But we go like this, and we're counter steering to be straight. Now, you see how far I am ahead of him right now? I'm almost I'm almost a car length ahead of him. My back bumper is almost at his front bumper. That's how little you need to move it to counter steer with these low traction cars on a straight like this. But anyway, that's just to get as much time shaved off as you can. So that's all of drifting for now. The second thing is knowing the track and the racing line. So if we go to the rookie career, the easiest track I know to see what the track looks like without knowing what the racing line looks like is Rainfall Raceway. This is a pretty clear-cut track, as you can see right here. We've got like 1, 2, 3 90-degree turns in a row, a little jump, and then it's 3 more 90-degree turns, and you get to the end. So the number 1 on this track is the Rocket, which is what we will use for the example. There we are. Have I turned off? I have not. Let's turn off the leaderboard. The replays. Okay, so we start back here. We're coming up on the start line. Now, if we don't take the racing line, we just stay kind of like in the middle of the track, as long as we stay on the road, we should be good. It should be a decent time if we stay on the road. And, let's see. Okay, what's our time going to be? Our time is going to be 16 seconds, 0.959. Almost 17 seconds. Now, if we look at the leaderboard, that is almost 3 seconds off the top time. So, but we can improve that. I am not even in the top 10. This is the only track I'm not in the top 10 on because this track has been almost perfected. This is one of the few tracks that's been almost perfected. But if we start over again, I won't race against my best because I won't be able to beat it. But I can't show you the ghost from the lap we just did. But the apex, I don't know. I'll talk about apexes like you don't know anything about apexes. The apex is when you're driving, you've got a part where you start to turn. This is where we'd start to turn, right about here. And you've got a point in the curve where you want to hit the the edge of it. So like this would be the edge of the curve. Actually, the edge of the curve is near those tires to the right of me, but if we're just wanting to stay on the road, the edge of the curve would be right here. And then you've got an exit point. Now the exit point depends upon what's coming next in the track. So if this was a straight, we would want to end up coming out right here. But since we're turning into another turn, we want our exit point of this turn to be kind of right here, with our car angled into the next curve at the entry point. We want the entry point for this curve, the exit point for this curve to be the same point. That way we can chain up our drifting. Yes, thank you. Okay, I skipped a check. We'll just start over again. So a better line through here, instead of just staying in the middle of the road, would be something like this. You know, touch that, and we come out. Now, as you can see, I'm a little bit tight going into the next curve, which could be okay. I can just turn a little bit tighter. So if you come like this, you see I'm not hitting that second apex, which could be a good thing, because as we see here, coming up into this curve, I've paused it, but coming up into this curve, I'm going to hit that apex nicely. On this track, the apex is going to be as close to these corners as you can get, as in like taking out these tires. So it'd be something like this. That's not the apex. So we get here, we get our start point. Get there, we nick the wall, hit that apex, come over here. Now you see how I landed? I can't hit my apex now, and I'm wide. So on jumps, you won't be able to, I know this was talked about in Dassandra's tutorial, but with jumps, you can't, this isn't like Rocket League where you can turn your car in the air. Stop, please. You can't turn your car in the air. If you turn it, it will only rotate on the, I have no idea. It does a barrel roll. It doesn't turn left and right. So in order to turn left or right, you kind of have to do it right before you do the jump. So if I wanted to, in this case, we're wanting to do a left turn, and we want to land in a drift. So in order to do that, I'm going to need to turn my car, maybe do a little handbrake to start the drift, and now I can just go straight into it, if that makes sense. So that's pretty much knowing the track, knowing what apexes are, finding the racing line. Now, a great way to kind of, I mean, you can find the racing line yourself if you want to, just by beating your personal best, trying to experiment. The best way to find what the racing line is to take any of the top 10 results and watch them. The best one will obviously be number 1. They've got the correct racing line down to a fine art. Number 10 probably should have a slightly close racing line, but he'll be a little off. In the later stages, like in the rally stages, you definitely should watch number 1 instead of the 10th one, because they could be making huge mistakes. It's just that because the track is so long, they still ended up getting a top 10 time. Nothing against the 10th player finishing in rally stages. You know who you are. I'm not bashing you. I'm just saying if a newer player is wanting to know the racing line, they should watch probably the top time. Okay, so now that we are done with that, the third part of going fast is keeping your revs up. This has been a complaint that had been on Steam. Not a lot of people complained about it, only like maybe one person. But this game, you don't have manual shifting. You have automatic. There are gears in this game. When I play, at the bottom right, you see my speedometer. I use the arcade speedometer because that's what the game started out with. That's what I'm used to. But you can change it to be arcade with gears, just to prove that this has gears. So right now I'm in second gear, and then I shift up to third gear, and I don't think I'll ever get to fourth on this track, but I think there is a fourth gear. Some cars have 4 gears, some cars have 5 gears, I think. I don't know. I don't pay attention that much. All I pay attention to is the revs, because I want to keep the revs up. Okay, so revs. You have some control. Even though it's automatic, you still have some control over your revs. What do I mean by that? I mean, if your car is drifting or sliding and you're holding the accelerator, your car will have more revs than it should have to be going that speed. And if your revs are bouncing on the rev limiter, then you're going to get a boost of speed. And I don't mean a boost of speed like in the Hot Wheels game that just came out, you know, where you like just go flying off. I don't mean like in what's the other game, like Need for Speed Heat, maybe there's one game where you boost and maybe it's Wii, like Mario Kart or something. Yeah, I think it's Mario Kart. I don't play Wii a lot. But, you boost, you do a power slide, and then, if you release right, you get a boost of speed. Okay, we're not talking about that type of boost of speed. We're just talking about, like, maybe a tenth of a second's difference in speed. I'll be racing against my Ghost. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4th turn that we're going to be taking. There is no Ghost. Personal best. We'll go with that. I will try to do this the first try. If not, then I'll just splice the results until I get the right example. And I'll try to keep even with my replay. This turn. It's this turn coming up here. Okay, so you see how you heard it rev up and then immediately it just sounded like it bogged down. Okay, anytime you hear your car doing that, if you're trying to go for a personal best, you can just start the race over. Hopefully you haven't gotten too far. Like in this case, I haven't gotten even halfway. I haven't even gotten, if we look at the little bar at the bottom, I haven't even gotten a fourth of the way down the mountain yet. You want to keep those revs going for as long as you can, while also going straight. You want to keep those revs high because that's going to make your car go faster. That's the best example I've got because I'm not perfect. I can't exactly recreate my personal best up till that point exactly and then purposefully mess up. So that's the best example I can give you. The next is staying off the dirt or the snow and staying on the road. Some tracks, like what you saw earlier, if we go back to Argolis, Greece, that is Catamarca, that is not Argolis. If we go to Argolis, Greece, at the beginning, it is necessary for you to go off the road and onto the dirt. So if we get to the turbo, we can take a big cut at this first left turn and a cut on this right turn, as you saw earlier. So like we can get way over here, and then we can come way over here, But ordinarily, if it's any other, for most cases, you don't want to be cutting like that. A good example is on the Lake Mountain Sprint in Australia. So here it is all about speed. If you'll look at the top 10 times are all, with the exception of one classic, all of these cars are 5 speed. They have 5 stars in the speed category. So like the Crusher, any of these would not work. So let's get back up to the Typhoon. Hopefully we'll be going up against my Ghost. Actually, I discovered this when I was racing against Deef, who's in the Road Slayer right now. This was back when he was driving the El Toro, and he actually did drive on the dirt for a little bit, as I'm going to show. And I discovered that if you don't, you're taking a slightly wider line, which is kind of counterintuitive, but because you're staying with all 4 wheels on the asphalt, you're going faster. Just to give you an example of what I'm talking about. So it's going to be after this dip in the ground, this dip in the track right here. So you get here, you're trying to get as close to this grass as you can without hitting it. So this part right here is what we're going to be talking about. Right here, if you stay on the asphalt, you're going to be going much faster than if you weren't. So to show the difference in speed, this is going to be a lot better consistency than the drifting I was talking about with the revs. So this is my personal best replay. So I'm going to try to stay as close as I can to him, and then I'm going to go on the grass here. Just one wheel. I'm just shaving one wheel on the grass here. And you already see how far of a difference. It's already more than one car's. It's about a car length already. And I've stayed like almost exactly on the racing line. But because I just nicked the grass, and if you nick the grass here, it's the same thing. You nick the grass, car's already slowed down a little bit. Nick the grass here some more, car's already slowed down. You grab all 4 wheels on the grass, it's a lot slower. Hello, amber lamps. So you need to stay on the road with these slight turns. Now, I will go a little bit more and show you a cut that you have to do where you shouldn't stay on the road. But, we try to stay on the road. I did that on purpose. But we're gonna stay on the road here. Sometimes it is necessary to cut on the grass. If you're going at a high speed, it's okay to just nick it right here, because we're going to have to be slowing down anyway for this curve. And this is where we do need to cut, because the road is so windy that you actually would lose more speed if you stayed on the road doing the turn than if you did make the cut. So that's why the racing line goes onto the grass there. But for the most part on this track, you would need to stay on the road itself to get the most speed. The last tip of this is the starting of it. Now, on rally stages, or point-to-point, they're called rally, but some of them are point-to-point that aren't rally, such as the Mountain Tugay, whatever. Mount Haruna, that's a point-to-point. Nagano Prefecture, that's also a point-to-point, but it's not in the rally stage. My point is, if you go to a circuit, we'll go to, the best example I've got is Spray Lakes, Canada. So the times here, this is another map that has been almost perfected, I think. I don't think there's a car that can go faster than the Horizon. I might be wrong on that. But if we go to the Horizon, probably would have been easier to go the other way. Okay, if we get to the Horizon, I think replay's off. Nope, replay's not off. We turn replay off. You start here. This is mainly just a big, huge oval on ice, so you're always going to be permanently drifting. So let's say, you take this line, you're wanting to like get as close as you can to this ice, maybe dip maybe 2 wheels on it like that, just to see as fast as you can go. You're just trying to clip the apexes like you talked about earlier. I missed that one, so I'm wide here. You're just trying to be as fast as you can. Okay? And that's nice. See, we finished in 15 seconds, 0.2 tenths. We're almost a second off of the world record. And I mean, I could have been tighter on some turns, but I couldn't be a second faster. So how is the leaderboard that fast? How is the number 1 time that fast? Well, with circuits, you'll notice that right now you get a lead up because this is just a track. You're going to be driving on this part of the ice again to finish. There's the start line right there. Now, you start, the developer puts you here to get a little bit of a run up. On certain tracks, such as this track, you can abuse the system. And by the system, I mean there are checkpoints. And the checkpoints aren't labeled as checkpoints in the game. But, for example, I think this tree right here is a checkpoint. That's a bad example because you just lost a tree. You don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, this tree next to that polar bear, I think is a checkpoint. So if I go on the inside here, and then I get back on the track, I should reset. Yep, and I reset because I skipped a checkpoint. You might get that information. Okay, so the point is there are lots of checkpoints that you have to go through to make a lap. And the game sees that if you go through a checkpoint, then it says, okay, you don't get reset. You can keep on going. And if you make a whole lap without missing any checkpoints, then you get a time. And that's when it pops up, this is your lap time. Okay. Those checkpoints don't start checking. It doesn't start checking to see if you go through the checkpoints until you start that lap, until you cross that finish line. Or the start finish line. What that means is you can go all the way up here, cut through these 2 rocks, and have a much higher speed coming into this starting turn. And that's what's going to give you that second of difference. To show the difference in speed, I will turn on the leaderboard. There's only 7 thousandths of a difference between me and number 1, so I'll just use my time here. So if I just start this off regularly, and I'm trying my hardest, this is the difference in speed here. Like, that is huge. I mean, it doesn't look like a lot, but it's huge. So if we come all the way down, and we finish, you're going to see that I shaved off, I did a better lap time. I did 14.6. But that's half of a second, almost half of a second. And on this map where there's only like 2-3 turns, 4 turns, I don't know what, it's all one big turn really. That's a lot. Half a second is a lot. So this only works, unfortunately, on circuits. Circuits you can start anywhere you want to as long as you start crossing that start-finish line. Oh, yes. And the last thing that I want to talk about is the start-finish line as well. If we go to Tropical Beach, there's a huge cut that is made, which I will not show. You can watch the top time if you want to see the cut. But the finish line, the start-finish line on this one is probably the most, I won't say broken, but it's the longest start-finish line I've ever seen. So if we just come through here, I'm not going to try to go really fast on this because we're mainly just showing the finish line. But we come over here, we're just following the track for now, trying to hit all of our apexes. Miss the water because water slows you down. Okay, we come over here. You would think that I would want to cross that checkered line, but no. I can drive all the way out here to this fish. And you see that I still get a lap time. So with the cut, which I won't show you, that is another shortcut. I won't say shortcut, but it's a faster way to finish. If you're taking that last turn a little bit, you're a little bit loose and you're starting to go into the water's not too deep here, so you don't lose that much time. When you put all these things together, drifting, knowing the track and the racing line, keeping your revs up, staying off the dirt, staying on the road for the most part, unless the racing line causes you to cut, and abusing the starts on circuits, that I think that's going to greatly improve your time. Which of these would improve your times the most? I would say knowing the track and the racing line and keeping your revs up. The drifting, you can, that's going to change like maybe a couple tenths of a second, maybe a little bit more. But knowing the racing line is going to be very crucial. Keeping your revs up, I think, will be more crucial than having that perfect drift, if you know what I mean. Okay, this is going to be fun editing because I remembered one more tip. I had all this like written down on a sheet of paper, but I remembered one more tip. And the tip, this is if you've come from driving competitively in a racing simulator, such as like Assetto Corsa Competizione or GT Sport or Project Cars 1 or 2, maybe not 3, or Forza, this is something you may already know. But if you've just been driving like normal arcade style, casually, you may not be doing this. And that is looking at where you want to be going instead of where you are. This actually works successfully in the real world. You want to keep your eyes on the apex, and your car just naturally goes there. It's kind of like hand-eye coordination, but you don't need to have hand-eye coordination. It just magically works. Okay, so we got the shorty. I'm looking at that green billboard, that second green billboard. I'm going to try to get as close to I can as possible. Okay, looking at the dead tree. I'm looking at that orange flag, looking at the yellow tree, just trying to get as close as I can to it. Looking at this gray rock here. Now I'm looking at this other rock, looking at the left rock. Don't fall off. Left rock. Now I'm looking at that big rock on the left side. Gonna try to get as close to it as I can. Now I'm looking at this red tree. Looking at the gray rock. Okay, and then this is just like driving straight. I'm not really looking at anything. I'm still keeping like one jump ahead of where I'm looking. I'm looking at this big rock. Now I'm looking at that tree. For some reason, I'm not looking at the flag. As we go around here, this is kind of like a blind turn. I just go off of memory. Like you just kind of have to know this. You want to you want to drive between that flag and the tree there. Looking at the red tree. Now I'm looking at the rock this entire time. Now I'm looking at the second rock. I'm looking at that tree up there, the dead tree. We're going to try to get as close to it as we can. I know there's a U-turn coming up. Looking at this big, gnarly dead tree. Looking at that flag. Trying to get as close to it as I can. Looking at this rock. You see, I'm not looking at my car. I'm always looking at the next apex. That's the point of this. That's what I'm saying. This will also, once you get the other things that I've mentioned, I can't really look at the sheet of paper because I'm driving right now, but once you get those down consistently, like you don't have to get them down like every turn. It's not perfect, but if you get into the habit of doing them, then this is the next stage. Is to not look at your car and look at where you're going. At this point, once you start doing this, you will get a feel for what your car is doing. Well, that was bad. You'll know exactly what your car is doing without having to look at your car. So you'll know your car is like, slightly drifting without actually looking at it to see how much your car is sideways, if that makes any sense. But anyway, that's the last tip. But anyway, hopefully you have enjoyed this video. Hopefully this is a decent video. And let me know in the comments if you've got a different driving style, if there's something that I could have said that I didn't. But anyway, that's my tutorial for this game, and I think I might offer some tips when I'm making more videos doing specific tracks. But for now, this is going to be the entire tutorial. Hopefully you've learned something, and see you guys later.